What's up? How you doing,
Hey,
Eric?
there we go. I was like, wait a minute, is my mic off?
Yeah, I have no idea. There's a good chance that it's on my end. I'm not exactly good at this.
It's our first time. At least publicly live streaming together in a semi-professional setting.
Professional in quotes. Yeah. Um, so there's a few things that we were gonna go over, I think. Just basically like what is Shiv Shack? Like what even is this thing? Who are we? Right? And then what's our background? Like, do we even have any business talking about this stuff?
Yeah, are we qualified? Maybe. Maybe not.
Questionable.
Find out.
Questionable.
Find
Yeah,
out this
yeah.
episode.
Yeah, stay tuned. And then I guess the main topic is how dangerous are ballast songs? Like
Ah,
compared
yes,
to
yes.
your standard Swiss Army knife,
The
something like that.
equivalent of the Death Star, perhaps. So
Right,
maybe.
right. Yeah, I would say that's pretty close at least. But yeah, so what is Shiv Shack?
Great question. But at least as far as I'm concerned, and I know as people have seen the description already, but I think we're looking just to have some good conversations about knives in general, casually, anywhere from ballast songs to really any other kind of knife. Um, I guess you can contribute your thoughts to that as well.
Yeah, basically we didn't want to like artificially limit it to ballast song stuff. So we called it Shiv Shack. But I think that at least starting out, there are enough battle song related topics that we would probably be doing a lot of that. But it wouldn't really be limited to that. Although I would definitely say like the main focus would still be knives, right?
Oh,
So
oh, definitely. And it just helps that we have a little bit of background in, well, actually quite a fair bit of background in ballast songs, so it
right,
makes it a little bit easier.
right. You know. Um, but yeah, so who are we? Who are you, Eric?
Who am I? The age old question.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
What are you doing here?
So I guess at least in regards to my knife experience, I am basically a ballast song flipper. There's really not much I've done outside of that. I've been doing it for about 5 years, which is actually kind of surprising, considering my skill level has kind of plateaued a little bit. But that's basically what I would say. I kind of contribute a lot of knowledge about ballast songs and very limited knowledge about other knives. So what about yourself?
I make handles. I would say I make knives, although I technically haven't made a full knife quite yet. I'm just very close to it. So I don't really do flipping. Like when I do, it doesn't usually end well, But so like I just make handles. I make knives, I guess you could say. That's kind of my interest in it. Like I tried flipping, but
Wasn't
like
wasn't for you. Wasn't in the cards.
right, like I recognized pretty soon, like yeah, I'm not going to be good at this.
Better luck next time, kiddo. Nothing
Right.
personal.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and we've talked a fair amount about both topics. So, there's definitely an overlap in terms of like you definitely have a decent understanding, to say the least, of like even just like making knives and stuff like that. So,
Definitely a
you
better
know,
appreciation for it than perhaps the average bear might have.
right, right. To be fair though, like the conversation was with me, so you're still, like it's not like you're talking with someone who has like any actual expertise. I just like to appear that I do. So it's more about
You
maintaining that
still
appearance.
gotta see results.
Right, right. Um, but yeah, so yeah, I guess that covers background too, right?
Well, actually, a good bit of background that people might be interested in, at least, is kind of what your introduction to knives was. I know mine was definitely different from yours. Just going off of past conversations. So if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Sure. So for me, my dad and I had gone to this, like, I think now defunct knife store, and we saw these little like stainless steel like trainers. And I mean, they
Mm,
were definitely
mm.
not. I mean, quality was questionable, right? You know, like,
Hey, what year? Take us to the year. What year is this?
oh, yeah, hell, I don't know, like 2015, 2016, or something like that. I think it must have
Uh,
been like 2015.
all right,
Um,
it's what's up?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, you know, I learned like basic openings and stuff like that, and I thought it was cool, and so I ended up getting this pink Baron Sun trainer, or no, I'm sorry, not trainer, but like a kind of cheap, crappy live
Yeah,
blade. And my friend ended up working for Benchmade, and that got me into like actually getting a decent battle song. So I got a 6X and a 51, but because I like having 10 fingers, I was a little bit uncomfortable flipping the 6X starting out.
yeah, yeah. Most people are. Most people are. That's a
Right.
heavy
Right.
one.
Right. And it's me, right? So like that adds even more danger to the whole thing, right? Um, but I had gone and stitched steel.
Yeah.
I had asked him, hey, are you still making titanium handles? And he's like, no, sorry, I'm not, blah blah blah. And so for some reason, I was just like, oh well, I should just make my own. I don't know why the hell I thought that was just going to be simple, but I did. And so I ended up making some admittedly not great titanium handles for it. People liked that and they wanted me to sell them, and eventually enough people asked that I sort of just got into making them.
And here we are.
Right.
I would say, I mean, I've seen some of the older photos. You've shown me the older
Right.
photos.
I don't like
Um,
to, but
looked a little. It's kind of the comparison between today we have SpongeBob. A couple of years ago, we had Doodle Bob producing the handles. So
yeah,
I think that would be a fair comparison.
that'd be generous.
Generally.
But yeah, how about yourself?
So I had an earlier introduction to knives. Um, when I was a kid, I just thought they were generally cool. My parents kind of humored me, bought me a fixed blade. I never really used it much. It just kind of sat there, kind of as just that thing that I thought was cool. Many, many, many years later, I'm on YouTube. I'm just searching videos up at like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, looking at the related video, seeing what pops up, and I came across a video of a guy who basically looked like best way I could describe it is a dollar store Jesus. I know the YouTube channel name, and hopefully he doesn't get too upset by that if he ever does watch this. But the YouTube name was Joe Radar, and this dude was just flipping two ballad songs. I think it was two ballad songs for about 3 minutes. And I was like, that's kind of cool. And my next thought was, gee, I could probably do that too. Like that's something that looks cool. I'm pretty sure I can do it. I'm gonna go find a ballad song, buy one online. Um, and that eventually took me to finding out that the sticker price of ballad songs was a bit of a shock to get used to.
Right.
It's not too thrilling to be like, oh, I want that knife, and then you look at that knife and it's $200, $300 or more.
Right. Right.
So I looked around for what I could afford because keep in mind this is basically college years for me, so I really didn't have disposable income, and I eventually settled on a Baron Sun 114, which I mean, it did its job for getting me introduced to the hobby. It eventually started to have some uh, serious issues with holding up. to some of the drops. The like hardwood floor, it couldn't even handle that very well before
I
it started to crack.
see. I just don't drop knives when I flip
Oh,
them.
yeah, perfect,
Yeah.
perfect strategy.
I mean, one day you'll be as good as me and you'll understand. But
No, but that knife. I mean, people kind of slam on Baron Son, but I will say at least the 114, it can do its job for letting someone know if the hobby's something they might want to spend more money on. Um, and then it kind of just progressed from there. I just went up in price from Battle Songs, went up to the $80 Bear Song, eventually went up to the Replicant. Didn't realize what I had at the moment, or at that moment, because I was comparing that quality. I was like, oh, the Bear Song was totally good. Like, this was amazing. I mean, for the price, $80 compared to 265. Are you kidding me? And then
right,
a couple months went by, and the tang pins on that Bear Song started to really. They were struggling.
right,
So I guess that's probably the best way I can describe how I got into knives. Kind of, and it did progress from there, but that's a longer story for sure.
right. Yeah. And I would definitely say like there seems to be, and I'm just like this is just me making stuff up, okay? But it seems to me, I've found that people who like knives generally like they're really into knives. There's not always an overlap between knives and guns and stuff. Like it seems that there are a number of people who like knives just because they think knives are cool for whatever reason.
Oh,
Um,
but they have that cool factor. I mean, even some regular folding knives, I mean, they just look cool. There's been plenty of times where I've been browsing around for a battle song and I look at something, I'm like, perhaps perhaps I do have some spare money for that.
right,
Uh, so yeah, there's a cool factor for sure.
right. Um, cool. I think that covers the main introduction, right?
Yeah, I think that's a
Um,
pretty good background, an introduction for anyone who doesn't really know us that well. I know most of the people who are going to watch this or are watching it right now probably have a familiarity with us, but at least for anyone not watching, I think that definitely sums it up fairly well.
right. I would agree. So I guess onto the topic. How dangerous are ballad songs?
Ooh, ooh, it's spicy. That's
Oh
a
yeah,
spicy topic.
boy, I can't say quite how dangerous they are.
How dangerous are they? So, I mean, we could put on a scale from one to 10. We could put it on from 1 to Karen.
Right.
Karen being approved. Is it Karen approved?
I
Um,
well, is it?
no. Karen's there saying you shouldn't have that. Why do you have that? That's. Do you know what that does to people? Like,
God, you
no.
just know there has to have been at least once in the past that there's some kid in the emergency room with a balisong cut,
Uh,
and there's some other Karen that are like, "Why are you letting him play with those things? Don't you?" It's like, oh my God, like, no, be quiet.
I don't even want to imagine it because you know it goes on. I mean,
Oh yeah,
there's not a ton of people that play with ballad songs, but you know it's happened. You know it. Somewhere out there, some poor kid got accosted by some mid 40 something year old woman who just maybe was there for a migraine or something.
right. Oh, dude,
Yeah.
that fits the stereotype so well, though. Oh my God.
uh, so but how do we best answer that question? I guess it really depends on what you're doing with it.
And it depends on the
Um,
context that you're,
it does
asking.
as well. Yeah. So I mean, how dangerous is a ballad song? I guess you could break it down even into the categories of people that might use it. So I mean, you have your collector types, you have your actual flippers, and you have actually people who would actually use it as just an everyday tool, really.
Like
Um,
me.
Yeah, so you use it as a tool, and actually maybe you could speak to it a little bit more than I can because I really very rarely use battle songs outside of flipping. I will use them to cut open an occasional package, but outside of that, not too much. So, what are some uses that you would elaborate on?
Well, I mean, frankly, I guess it comes down to like what would you use a knife for, right? Because the stuff that you would normally be using a knife for, like let's just say like you're opening a box or something. Like a knife is a knife in that context. And so I just happen to think battle songs are cool. It's like I can't imagine like imagine's not the right word. Like I don't remember when I would have last cut myself doing something like that because I used a battle song, let alone like when I even cut myself doing it, right? But like I can't think of a time when I cut myself with a battle song just using it for everyday stuff where I would not have cut myself with another knife. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's super difficult. I mean, even once you get decent at flipping, it actually becomes very difficult to purposefully cut yourself, mainly because you're just not going to want to make that mistake on purpose. But even doing some medium level, I guess I'd put it at medium level tricks, you kind of have to try to screw up. I mean, in
Unless you're
that,
like me,
oh yeah,
then it just comes naturally.
exactly. Um, but yeah, I would even say the same thing for flipping. It's like, yes, there's a chance that you can, but I mean, it's kind of like almost to make an analogy, and it might not be the best analogy, but people drive cars all the time. There's a chance that they can get into an accident every time they drive.
Especially if they drive like me.
Oh yes, yes. But anywhere from a minor fender bender all the way to a full-on bad accident, there the chance is there, but there's ways to reduce that risk. You know, you aren't gonna if you drive well, if you look out for when you're changing lanes, if you're making sure you're checking if there's anyone there, if you're stopping within a proper amount of time, you reduce your chances. And sure, there's still a chance that something can go wrong, but you reduce the risk a lot. And I would say the same thing goes for flipping. If you're gonna just launch the knife to the moon and expect to catch it, like,
In the, with your neck.
yeah, good
The
luck.
shoulder and neck will catch
I
thing.
mean, good luck. But if you say, look, I think I can do, I don't know, maybe I can do a basic twirl. I think that's something reasonable I can do. Well, you're probably gonna be okay. Yeah, you might hurt yourself, but it will be the equivalent to like that fender bender. It's not gonna be a full on, dead on arrival type situation. It's just
For
not.
multiple reasons, right? Like one, like frankly, if you put enough force into a basic twirl to get yourself killed, you're doing something wrong. Okay. But you could start on the wrong handle intentionally and still actually survive the cut. I mean,
Oh
I know
yeah,
that's hard to imagine, but like you can actually cut yourself on the finger and not die.
yeah, exactly.
I think. I'm not like a doctor, but
I mean, it might be painful. I mean, I've seen the
oh
Ring of
yeah.
Shame. I've seen plenty of Ring of Shames.
That's the first cut I got on my Alpha Beast.
Ugh, man, it's the word. I actually gave myself one once, and I mean but still, I mean, kind of to your point, you're not going to be fatally wounded by that. It's going to be very unpleasant, but I mean, in terms of how dangerous, I mean, maybe you need to get stitches. If it goes deep enough, maybe not.
But
Um,
even that, it's like, man, you'd have to really mess up to get stitches. You know what I mean? Like stitches where like a doctor would be like, "Oh, you need stitches," not like your mom is like freaking out, like, "Oh my god, dude, he's bleeding, give him stitches." Not that, right? I mean, like where a doctor would be like, "We should probably get stitches on that." You know what I mean?
like you've been degloved, bro. Like you've been straight up
Ugh.
degloved.
Oh
Ugh.
god.
Oh, the visuals.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah, you should look up some of the accidents that have happened with power tools.
Yeah, no,
Um,
we're not doing that tonight.
yeah, that's on Thursday.
But I mean that's just one one way to use balisongs, or one other way to use balisongs, flipping. That's just not even considering EDC purposes. Just
Right.
everyday use, the risk is even lower. The risk is almost, especially, I would say, especially if you have a latch. I mean, the risk of you actually injuring yourself, to me, is just so pathetically low compared to, like you said, if you were just using a different knife. Like at that point, if you were going to end up cutting yourself, probably wasn't because it was a balisong, probably because you were just making a dumb mistake.
Right. Or the knife was dull.
Oh, did we lose our stream already? Oh dear, oh dear.
It's going
Oh,
back up now. That's weird.
I see
Yeah.
it. Yeah, pull back up for me. But to your point, kind of about the you don't just hand someone, don't just hand someone a balisong. I agree with that. That's a bad idea, unless of course it's a trainer. But it kind of ties into other hobbies. Like you don't just put a 16-year-old behind a car, or even
Or in front of a car.
or yeah, or yeah, or I mean, there's just so many. I'm trying to come up like with examples that aren't firearm related, but that would be another one where you don't just hand someone a firearm and say, "Go ahead, kiddo, go have fun."
Yeah, like I think you push that button or something to get the clip to fall.
Yeah,
But yeah,
you
figure
don't
it out.
just
Have fun. Have fun.
and you kind of at least go over basic, minimal, basic things to do. Like every time I have had a friend handle one, I've said, "Look, here's the handle that you hold. If as long as you hold on to this handle, the safe handle, you will not cut yourself. If you let go of it, look, it might happen, but just understand that if you hold on to this, you can flop it around. It's not going to hurt you. Just do not grab the other one unless you are comfortable with it." And
Or if
that
you
has,
have band-aids.
yeah, or that, but it has worked well so far. So even people within my friend group who I've had try a balisong, or they've asked to try a balisong, as long as I just go over a quick little, here's how to be safe speech, and it's usually under 30 seconds, things turn out okay. There's really not a high risk. I feel like there's not a high risk to that person when they go ahead and pick it up.
Right. Or I guess, well, I think it still comes back to like let's just assume that somebody's not going to be an idiot, right? If they're not doing something, or they're just experimenting with it when they don't really have an understanding of like even the concept of the safe handle and the bite handle. If you're just using it as like a knife, it's like you're going to be hard pressed to find a situation where you would be cut with a balisong but not another knife. You know what I mean? Like if anything, you're more likely to be cut using like a Swiss Army knife, which doesn't even have a lock. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, how about think about how many injuries there probably are every year for someone mistaking their finger for a carrot. They get out on that cutting board and they're just out of it. They're not thinking and they just go slice. I mean, it's so ridiculous to me that there's this perception that balisongs are somehow far more dangerous, or even forget about far more dangerous, that they're even more dangerous than any knife. I find to be a ridiculous idea. Um, and we've seen and we've talked about it before, briefly. We've seen examples of people who promote the idea that they're super dangerous for whatever reason, for whatever motive they have. They actually promote the idea that these things are hyper lethal, Death Star equivalent type weapons, and I think there is some education that needs to be kind of put out there so that there's at least a voice to challenge that opinion, because a lot of flippers know this, even a lot of the people that collect the knives know this, but to the average person it still does seem a little bit questionable, where it's like, okay, but what's your proof, are you being for real, is that genuine, or are you just kind of trying to minimize the danger or the risk?
Right. And I guess the one, like, one argument that I've heard, which I do think like carries some merit, is like if you know, let's just say, I mean, if you're a parent, right, and you're like the only strong argument is either you don't want your kid to get cut because they're playing with it, or you just don't want to have to go to the emergency room for stitches, right? Like, there's at least some validity to that, right? Like,
Oh well, that's fine. That's fine for like a parent child relationship. But if you're 18 or older,
right, it's but it just that's the only like argument that I've heard where it's like, okay, I can see how that makes sense, right? Like, if like certainly by flipping a balisong, you're increasing your chances of getting cut when you otherwise would not if you were doing playing with yo-yos or something, right?
oh, of course.
I'm sure someone has strangled themselves to death with a yo-yo, but like, you know,
Oh,
um,
morbid, but yeah.
it's like I can understand that, but to then say, oh well, that makes them dangerous. It's like, well, what define danger, right? Your kid's not going to kill themselves with it, right? Like,
And I almost don't know. And maybe for anyone that does is watching or ends up watching this, I really do wonder if the perception of the danger is people think they're just going to hurt themselves if they have a balisong, or if they think that someone who has a balisong is going to go out there and hurt others. I'm actually not fully sure where these people are worried about balisongs stand.
I mean, I just think a lot of people. Well, one, I think there are plenty of people who just want to be upset about something, right? And I
Oh,
also,
the outrage, yeah, the general outrage.
which you see all over the place now, right? Um, like there are a lot of situations where somebody just wants to be upset about something and use that upset to control other people, right?
Yep, agreed
And
on that. Yeah.
I definitely think like there's an aspect to that, right? Like your average person who's like triggered about this, I refuse to believe that they are genuinely concerned that they're going to be walking to Subway or something and someone's going to pull up in a car and hop out with a balisong and stab them. I mean, it's just like I can't imagine a situation where they could actually genuinely be scared of them,
Well,
right?
this is something I actually to consider as well. And I know we've talked about this at one point. The barrier to entry. So what I mean by that is the price to get a balisong very quickly goes up. I mean, in order to get a good balisong that probably has a blade that you'd feel comfortable actually stabbing into something, handles that you feel like wouldn't shatter upon impact, it costs a decent bit. You might be looking at $100 just to get a balisong that would be somewhat, well, I say somewhat, would actually be reliable. I'd say would be reliable. You're looking at least $100. And so I feel like people don't even consider that. Like, are you really gonna go use that balisong you got from Wish.com and go? Are you serious? Or
Shoot
do
up
you
a
really
mall with it.
like, do you really trust that though? Like, I would not put my life on a balisong from Wish. I'm just not. It's not happening. But there's this misconception too, and it's almost even worse. And I have to mention this video because you know they got those balisongs from some cheap, sketchy website. It was this little mini documentary about how dangerous balisongs and other edged weapons are in London and how much of a problem they are in the area and the harm that it's causing to the community. And you look at the knives that they bring out, and the balisong looks like it was a $3 balisong from Wish. It had to be the biggest joke I've seen, and honestly, it looks like if you dropped it wrong, the thing would probably break in half. And honestly, I'm not even sure if the blade was sharp because wouldn't you know it, they didn't actually test. They didn't show any display of the damage the blades could do. They didn't do any kind of demonstration on, this is why this one's more lethal, or this is why this one's a bigger
Well,
problem.
I think that's for a few reasons, and one of them I think we'll get to a little bit later in this podcast, which is they don't actually understand what a sharp knife is, right? Um, Although there was an interesting comment from Barkhandle, just that Ballies are like OTFs and switchblades to some people. They're scary and think that only criminals use them. And I would definitely agree that I see people they either outright say that, or that's clearly like the underlying attitude that they have. But I still don't see why anybody would reach that conclusion that, oh, well, battle songs are only used by gangsters. Like, how does the person making that argument like logically reach that conclusion?
It's fascinating too, because in a lot of areas, just the effort to get the battle song makes it not worth it. Like, imagine you're living in the UK, and you're figuring yourself, okay, well, I'd like a knife to go ahead and rob people, or I'd like a knife to go ahead and stab somebody up, right?
Stab
Why?
somebody up. Nice.
But like, why? Why do they think that your go-to choice is going to be a ballad song that has repercussions law-wise if you get caught with it? Uh,
Right.
I don't understand why that is their go-to thought when, I mean, there's what's going to stop someone from realistically going back or going into a what would be like the kind of like a home goods store, and just buy a set of kitchen knives and say, "Oh, these are perfectly good. These are going to be great."
Right.
Like,
Or just buy a fixed blade. Even if you're going to have a decent knife, buy, like a buck 102 or something, you
and
know?
they're cheaper. They're cheaper too.
Right.
So I feel like this perception that they're dangerous, or they're going to be not even that part. The choice weapon of criminals. It's outrageous to me. It costs too much. The cheap ones suck, and not only did the cheap ones suck, but a fixed blade of equivalent value is probably going to be a far higher quality, anyways.
Right. Um, yeah, it's definitely. I mean, even if you were to get into a discussion on like how quickly you can open them, like, I mean, I don't flip a whole lot, but I can get it open relatively quickly. But it's not like faster than opening a folding knife or an OTF
I'm,
or something. You know what I mean? Like,
I
it's
would
not.
say. Oh, sorry. There you go.
I was just basically saying like it isn't like it's somehow like the fact that it has a flashy opening, like that somehow makes it more dangerous. You know what I mean?
I think that's what gets people, because I've done a test on the how fast I could get it to open. And there's one thing that people really don't consider is if it's latched, getting it open quickly it's difficult. I can get it. I think I got it to a full second. And I timed it from the moment my hand moves. So it's like the moment that you start to see your hand move, that's when the timer starts, to the end of when the knife is open. Took a full second. Um, an automatic can be done in under a quarter of a second. A fixed blade, 0 seconds. It's open. It's ready to go. So I think that flashy opening can intimidate people, and it's actually partly why when I do show someone who I'm not sure about or how they're going to react to it, I open it with two hands slowly so that they can see that you don't need to open it quick. You can open it slowly, and so that they feel more
Nope,
comfortable.
nobody has to die.
Yeah, no one's getting hurt today. Don't worry.
Right.
You can put your wallet and keys back. I'm not taking those. Stop
Yeah,
removing
yeah.
your shoes.
No, I insist.
You don't need to run me the shoes. That's fine.
Yeah. And I definitely, you know, like there is okay, like I'm trying to think how I want to phrase this. Like, yes, it's true that ballad songs have one of the strongest locking mechanisms. It's not necessarily the strongest, okay? That comes down to actually like the quality of the knife in some senses, right? Like
Yeah, there's other factors. Yeah.
there are definitely Benchmade folders with axis locks that are way better than like a Bear and Son, like, $35 Balisong. Like it's just, that's
Exactly.
just how it
Exactly.
is. Um, but it is good in the sense that, like, sorry, one moment. It is good in that, like, if somebody it doesn't cut themselves opening it or something, it's highly unlikely that the blade is going to somehow like break, like the lock will break and you'll get cut, because even if, let's like, and you know this, right? You take the Tang pin out or the Zen pins out, it still isn't going to close on you, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, it may lose its effectiveness as a knife, but it doesn't lose its effectiveness as a knife in a way that injures you. You just look like an idiot, you know?
Exactly. Exactly.
So I don't know. But I definitely think a lot of what makes people complain about Balisongs in that sense is just people wanting to be upset about something.
Yeah, it's that whole concept of that looks dangerous. Why do you need it? It's like, well, whoa, 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 whoa. Slow down.
Right.
Yes, it looks dangerous. Even if it was dangerous, why can't I have it? Is kind of the better way to approach that question, I think. It's like, look, it might look dangerous, but can you actually present some good argument here that would make me be convinced that I should not have this? I mean, it honestly is ridiculous to me, the lengths that people will go to with the outrage to say you should not have that. And Balisongs, unfortunately, are subject to that criticism. I mean, and it's not even Balisongs too. I mean, some states have limits to the length of the knife that you can have, or at least certain limits to where you can have a knife with a certain blade length. It's honestly absurd.
Yeah. And like I think that in California, the Balisongs have to have a blade less than 1.95 inches or something stupid like that. Which, by the way, if you're flipping a Balisong with 5-inch handles and it has a 2-inch blade, like you're gonna get cut even on a safe handle, right?
Yep.
Like it's like an absolutely stupid thing. It's you know what it really is just people who don't know what they're talking about acting as if they do. That's really what it is.
Oh, exactly, exactly. And of course, again, this doesn't just apply to Balisongs, but all too commonly, you get someone who forms an opinion um, about it, and then they unfortunately are in positions of influence where they can make it so that other people don't have access to that thing that they're upset by. That's what it comes down to.
Right. Or you have some politician that's like, oh, I'll get rid of all these super dangerous, you know, gang weapons if
Oh,
you
next
vote for
next
me.
thing you know,
Right.
oops, wow, why are rock and acid attacks on the rise? I don't understand.
Yeah. I
Can we?
can't. Yeah.
I thought we were legislating people to be more peaceful. It just turns out there are some people who are just violent. Wow, what a shocking conclusion to come to.
I mean, that's a pretty bold conclusion. Uh, but like, look, I mean, if you just think about it, like, let's say you're one of these people, you're like, okay, I'm going to go stab somebody, right? And then, like, whoa, all of a sudden the law gets in the way, right? The law comes in to rain on your parade. You can't use a Balisong. What are you going to do? Just be like, well, that sucks. I guess I won't go stab this person now. It's like, no, you get a different knife. Like, it does nothing. It does
Oh,
nothing at
yeah.
all.
What's the word I'm looking for? Effectively, it does very, very little to nothing. And what it does do is actually encourages people to get these things that are harder to get because there's rules against them. Now it's all of a sudden more valuable because you can't easily get it. And not saying that it contributes to the problem of like, oh, all of a sudden now because it's hard to get, now there's more ballad song crime. No, absolutely not. But it's like you inadvertently kind of increased the demand by making something that was not a problem all of a sudden a problem.
Well, and these people complaining about it, I would definitely say, I've encountered a number of people who I'm convinced they flip ballad songs because they think it makes them look cool. And they think that because of how some people react to it, right? And you'll see a lot of people, like, they'll be flipping and they'll like put on all sorts of like, like stereotypically gangster style music, right? Without naming genres or anything. And it's like, I can't help but suspect that there might be a connection between that and them. These are people that I've dealt with in other contexts, and I know what their personality is like, right? It's not like I'm determining that from them flipping. Like, I know what this person's like, and then I see how they flip and behave in that context, and I'm like, this does seem like it's an appeal to some people specifically for that reason.
Yeah, you could say that for sure. I've definitely watched definitely at least YouTube videos and some Instagram posts where I think there's a certain look or a certain vibe that the creator's trying to give that doesn't really help the case too much. It does help. I think it helps a lot if flippers at least, and it's not a requirement, but at least make an effort to, in some ways, to show that you can be a normal person and you can enjoy flipping ballad songs. You don't have to portray yourself.
Wait, are you serious? Or like, you can be a normal person and flip ballad songs?
I know, it's shocking, right? What?
Like, you have any evidence?
I unfortunately do not, as I myself am not a normal person.
You're just a normie.
A norm? No, absolutely
no,
not.
Take it back.
That's too far. I'll settle for Smurf, but I will not settle for normie.
Fine, you win this time. But yeah, like, and I guess I do think that those people have a negative impact on the overall image, in quotes or whatever, of ballad songs. Like.
Oh, actually, and we can. Oh boy, we can actually go a little bit further on this topic. Oh boy. Oh, here we go.
This doesn't sound good.
Mall Ninja ballad songs.
What is that?
Oh, that is one of the areas where I say, it's not that we need to police anything, but boy, oh boy, CS:GO style.
Oh Christ.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Mall Ninja Extraordinaire style ballad songs. I really feel like those type just contribute to giving a bad rap to the overall aesthetic of ballad songs. You look at that, and for me, it's harder to make a case for, even though I know they're not sharp, even though I know they're dull, it's harder to look at that and be like, oh, that's a recreational item, because it looks like the handle is ergonomically set up for it to be a weapon. Even though
it's supposed to look like offensive. It sounds like different, and like I mean it like it looks like it's intended to be a weapon, right? Is what you're saying. Which I'm sure is part of the reason why it is the CS:GO knife. You know what I mean?
Yep. And because it's so popular, it's if you type in ballad song, sadly, that is one of the images that will come up at least within a top 10. I can almost guarantee it will come up in a top 10 search result. And so people look at it and they're like, oh, that's a weapon. That's for sure.
Dang it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh yeah. Can you pull up that, Doug, can you pull up that article? Oh, what is it? Number 8? Number 8.
Yeah.
I thought so.
Fine, you win this time.
Yeah, exactly. And it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate that that's one of the first things that people are exposed to when they look at ballad songs. And it's almost even worse. What almost even makes it worse is even straight-handled ballad songs that are clearly intended for flipping. If you look at like reviews of them, you'll get people saying, "This broke on me. I was flipping it and all of a sudden it broke." Or the screw came out and the handle went flying apart and this is unsafe. And so you can almost imagine if you're just doing a little bit of investigating yourself as to, well, maybe I want to get a Balisong, and you start reading comments about how terrible the quality is and how dangerous it is to the user. These are just things that add to the image being tarnished a little bit by these particular knives that you can't, well, calling them knives being generous, but these Balisongs that may or may not be sharp, that you can get. It
Hey,
really.
just so you know, I Google searched, are Balisongs dangerous? Now, to be fair, I didn't put a question mark, right? So it might just be assuming that I'm dumb. Okay, but the first result is these knives are extremely dangerous if you sharpen them and attempt to perform tricks beyond your ability, such as, quote, aerial stunts, in which you toss the spinning blade. By the way, is it just a spinning blade, or is there anything else up there that's spinning with it that you can maybe catch?
Actually, that wording is actually
it's problematic.
It's written by someone who has a little experience or has just like watched a couple videos and decided to write on it.
In which you toss the spinning blade up into the air and catch it. If you miss, you can stab yourself in the hand. I mean, that sounds fatal right there. And then he just says, yeah, go on. Sorry.
Well, when you go for really dangerous, right? When you say that's gonna be that's super dangerous. I don't know if hand is the first body part I go for. I would almost imagine this could land on your head. This could hit your neck.
Right.
I almost you might gouge out an eye, kid.
Yeah.
But your hand, I don't. Just keep going.
It just let me see. Hold on. It was.
Is there more to that article, or was that it?
Well, I was trying, but it was taking me like a different question for some reason.
It's all right, but I mean, to be fair, aerials can be dangerous, and I've seen plenty of photos online of people who seriously hurt themselves. So they're not totally wrong, but at the same time, it's just when you lead with they can be very dangerous. It's like, I don't know. I would almost put that as you're purposely being dumb. It's almost like if someone was to, they're going to go out for a weekend, they're going to snowboard or they're going to ski somewhere. But before they go down the mountain, they decide to jug a fifth of vodka. I mean, it's almost like you're setting yourself up for failure. And when you say, oh, well, snowboarding or skiing can be very dangerous. Yeah, if you really go out of your way to increase the danger. Same with the Balisong. If you really go out of your way to just yeet that thing into, the stratosphere, what's going to happen, you have coming. It's coming. Like, you set yourself up to be injured. No one's going to be surprised. Hopefully no one feels sorry. It's almost like the logical conclusion to being irresponsible.
Right. And look, there are ways to get yourself killed with most hobbies. You know what I mean? Like they're just like any hobby that involves any sort of like physical anything. Like if you're dumb and you do it incorrectly, like if it's any hobby that's worth doing, Frank, no offense. Okay.
Shots fired.
Yeah. Like you can end up getting hurt doing it, but it's like you can get hurt driving, right? Like
I could get hurt walking down the stairs, man. I could get hurt walking down the stairs. You missed that step and you're just goodbye. Nice to know you.
Right. One sec here. Keep talking about it. I'm trying to get this thing to work.
I don't know if I had too much more to add to that specific point. I do like that you mentioned that sports in general. I mean, if you just look at some commonly accepted sports, football, baseball, those are actually probably some of the more popular ones that we could go and work with. I mean, I don't think it's out of the question to say that people suffer from some very, very bad injuries. I know that, if you take a line drive baseball to the head, you think you're gonna be okay. You think you might have a brain bleed if you're not lucky. I mean, there's just or if someone lands on you wrong in a tackle or whatever, a broken bone perhaps. Concussions are common. And these are widely accepted sports, and yes, there are precautions to try and make it as safe as possible. But even so, people get hurt very badly. I would probably wager at least a couple thousand. I haven't looked it up, but I'd wager at least a couple thousand per year. And no one seems to bat an eye about that. I mean, it really does circle back to that thing that looks dangerous. I don't think people should have because I think it looks dangerous. And quite frankly, that person probably doesn't trust themselves, and that's why they're scared.
So I did get this going here. Okay, so this is Clint John, Jahn. Hey, I didn't choose the last name. Okay.
Never trust a man with two first names.
Yeah, right. Like one of them's there for like disguise or something. But he describes himself as, quote, consultant. So I mean, people consult him, so he knows what he's talking about. But he says, "Hi, I used to collect butterfly knives, properly known as balisongs. He doesn't even spell it. Liked the 1980s vintage imports from Seki City, Japan. These knives are extremely dangerous if you sharpen them and attempt to perform tricks beyond your abilities, such as the, quote, aerial stunts in which you toss a spinning blade up into the air and catch it. If you miss, you can stab yourself in the hand. There are dozens of ways to flip, spin, roll a balisong knife." There's supposed to be an "and" there, buddy. Knives with Knives with titanium handles supposedly have the best balance. The handles are too fast. Brass handles are too heavy. Hey, so he knows what he's talking about. He knows about that titanium.
Does he have a username?
Yeah. Here, let me just.
I mean, like, look. I
sent it to you on Discord if you want to open it on your computer.
Yeah, part of what he's saying isn't wrong. But, titanium is kind of the go-to metal, but it's not a stipulation. It's really not. I mean, let me see what else we have in this article.
Well, if someone inexperienced tries to quickly whip one out, it could be very dangerous for their fingers and hands. See, so we have a different, these people are not defining dangerous in the way that somebody would normally think of, would normally expect dangerous to entail, right?
It's almost, yeah. Oh no, you keep going. Sorry.
It's like, okay, if getting a cut on your hand is dangerous, I mean, I think it's like there's hemophilia or whatever. Like there are situations where you wouldn't want to get cut, like if your blood doesn't clot or whatever. But those people are probably they would just naturally be like, I don't know if flipping a balisong is a good idea for me, right?
Exactly.
So let's see. If you're asking about whether they're dangerous to society and should be illegal, that's debatable and a very complex question. No, it's not.
I'm pretty sure very clearly it says we can have what we want.
This is frankly ridiculous. Oh my god! But he uses VERY to say something can vary in how it works. Like these people discredit themselves. Okay.
This guy probably. I'm not gonna knock him fully. But I mean, he's coming at it from the perspective of what he's talking about 1980s balisongs. I mean,
this was a different guy.
Oh, this is a different one?
Right. This guy is, quote, climbing biker science geek, reader, father, cook, and fan of history. He doesn't use an Oxford comma. So But he says, he's essentially contrasts it with a gravity knife, which, legally speaking, my understanding is that balisongs are considered, like, they are gravity knives. Like, that's what, previous rulings or whatever have determined. So,
Honestly, I think they should be ruled as folding knives, quite honestly. I mean,
and
I know
I'm not saying I disagree, but what would you say is the argument behind that?
it folds in on itself. It's a folder. Um, in fact, I would almost say if it's latched, if you're not really good with a balisong, if you're not like familiar with how to use it, you almost have to open it with two hands. You would almost have to open it with two hands, and I would say because of the speed that you'd be opening it at, it's basically a folder. Even if you are proficient with one, I mean, how is it any different in its kind of opening mechanism? Like,
Well, but you
yeah,
could make the same argument for a switchblade. Like, there are switchblades that are not OTFs that technically fold in on themselves. Like, they are folding knives. They're just assisted opening.
yeah.
I guess it's like, if you, like, I understand why somebody would classify a balisong as a gravity knife, but that doesn't mean that gravity knives should somehow be regulated as if they are more dangerous or something, right?
Yeah, that's actually probably the bigger point. Why is the factor of gravity all of a sudden something that makes the knife more dangerous? You can open because you can open it one-handed. You can open a lot of folders one-handed very quickly too.
Well, and it also leads to other questions, like, were balisongs still illegal before Sir Isaac Newton invented gravity, right? Because then that sort of it
These
destroys the whole classification,
these are the important questions.
right? Which I don't hear people addressing.
No, I think this is the first that someone has brought this up, and I think we need to explore this topic further.
Right.
We need some testable results or an experiment that we can test. It must be repeatable, and we can move on from there.
Here, okay, so somebody asked, why are 5-inch butterfly knives illegal when people can walk around with guns?
It's just, I mean, I understand what they're going for. I understand what they're going for there, but
actually, the replies are pretty good. The primary reasons they are restricted anywhere is rather simple. Balisongs are easily concealed. Compared to what? Other knives?
Exactly.
It's just an objectively stupid argument.
Like, it's the dumbest. Honestly, it's the dumbest of the dumb people. Because you could watch videos. We could probably pull up a video of someone concealing a fixed blade knife in like a coat or a long sleeve shirt. I would not be surprised if we can go on YouTube or any other streaming whatever platform and find someone hiding multiple knives on them, fixed blades and big fixed blades too, like at least 10-inch blades at least. And yet they're going to say a balisong is easy to conceal. Okay, yeah. Compared to what?
So,
like,
yeah, there's another response, by the way, by a software engineer, 2020 to present. So he's lots of experience in areas that are related to balisongs, presumably. But he says it is not because, as people suggest, laws are dumb or out of fear from fiction. It is because a 5-inch butterfly knife is only 5 inches when stowed. Let me explain. No, you are already an idiot. Like, it's just, this is, again, it goes back to the thing, right? Like what we were talking about. Like, these people don't know what they're talking about, like, just objectively, right? And
yeah,
so,
and if you actually presented them with like a side-by-side comparison, their argument would fold in on itself. It would completely, they'd have to objectively look at it and try and justify the fact that they're saying that, oh well, because it folds in and because it's 5 inches and that one's 10 inches. It's like what is this a joke? Like, or is this a joke?
right. And sadly, it's not.
No, they're serious. They are 100% serious about the conclusion that they came to.
Oh my god.
Which does circle back to, unfortunately, I do feel like there's just not enough counter information out there. And I almost think it's because a lot of flippers, or even collectors, or even just everyday users read this stuff and they're like, no one could be that dumb. Or this isn't even worth responding to because it's so illogical. But not understanding that, if you're just an average person, and let's just say you're a little bit on the dumber side too, it's just nothing personal, but it's just what it is. If you come across that article, how likely are you to trust that opinion if there's nothing out there counteracting that opinion? I mean,
Yeah.
it's almost like the Balisong community is victims of our own our own inaction, mainly because we're like, nah, you can't be that stupid. Because and here we go. We're gonna be we're gonna make a little bit of a claim here, but I would argue that in order to flip live blades and to do it well, to do tricks that are difficult and to do those tricks well, you can't be that stupid. You really can't be dumb as rocks and come up with combos that look good, do tricks that are hard, do it fluently. It's just probably not going to happen if you're one of them. What would you call them? A mouth breather, perhaps.
Oh, that's me.
Oh,
Yeah, I like to do that.
well, hey, I mean, you may.
It just happens naturally. Like sometimes I drool too.
There's a first time for everything, right?
Yeah, I will say. So I'm reading through some other answers, and there were two cases that involved kids wanting to get Balisongs and with predictable responses. A few things. One, the sheer number of people who are like, well, they're small, and so you can easily conceal them. It's just like obvious that they are idiots, right? Like you don't even have to read their whole answer because the entire premise of it is just stupid, right?
Oh, it's house cards, yeah.
And the second thing is like the number of people who will answer these questions as if they know what they're talking about when they have zero knowledge. Like they're like, oh, a Balisong, that's one of those switchblades, and like it's genuinely disgusting. But I guess, yeah.
I honestly think if you had to sit down like a flipper who's been doing it for even, I would say even, we're going to be on the smaller side, 2 years, just 2 years. Actually, I would even say 1 year because that's when you can start to get into some pretty good tricks if you're a little bit of a slower learner. Because it took me a while to get into some better tricks. If you sat down and had someone who's been flipping for a year read some of these articles, they'd probably have an aneurysm. I've gotten some very uneducated comments on my videos. I mean, people just being like, I mean, some of them are joking comments, but there are honestly people who are like, I can't believe you can do that. I can't believe that, that seems very dangerous. It's like, okay, yeah, it seems very dangerous. Like, okay, is that it? Is that all that there is? It looks flashy and interesting, therefore you're scared. Well, gee, fireworks must terrify you, right? You must get really scared seeing a firework be shot up into the sky and blow up. That must be startling and unsettling to you. Or gee, I imagine that even turning on the faucet must be a terrifying experience because whoa, what's that? Like, I feel like these people are just so scared and just want to be outraged over like they want to project their fear out onto other people. It's like, oh, I'm scared of that. You should be too. Like, no.
Well, there's got to be some kind of like I don't know what the right word is, like internal narcissism there, in the sense that like they know better, and you're supposed to recognize that they know better even when they have no idea what they're talking about. Like, why should I give a single feces what they say about something that they don't know what they're talking about?
I was going to say YouTube monetizer friendly.
Right. Like, why would I care? But they're like, well, because I think it's that they should be illegal. It's like, okay, why? Well, because they're dangerous. Why? Look, I just want to talk about something else, okay?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, there we yeah. I don't have time. The one of the biggest responses, and this doesn't even it is not solely about ballad songs, but one of the biggest responses I get to people who just want to end the conversation because they know they're about to be basically they know that their argument is about to be exposed as a total fraud. And so they'll do exactly what you said, where it's like they'll put a few things out there where it's like, you shouldn't have that, can't do that, don't believe you should do that. And then when you start asking those why questions, all of a sudden it turns into, I don't have time for this. Oh, but you had time before though, right? You had time before. And now that someone is actually asking you difficult questions or easy questions that are difficult for you, now it's a problem.
To be fair, there's a lot of stuff that's difficult for them.
Oh yeah. I would not challenge that claim at all.
You know,
But once
driving.
these are the same people. These are the same people probably driving in the passing lane at the speed limit, or probably the same people. Oh, no, even better. These are the same type of people too lazy to put their cart in the little cart storage at like the grocery store. They're too lazy to do it, so they go ahead and leave the cart out in the parking lot because it's not their problem and it's not gonna that's those type of people.
Yeah. Yeah, it
And the demographic that I think we've left out that is the most hilarious of all this is the collectors. I mean, I know they don't flip, and I know some collectors actually do not have favorable opinions about flippers, or even just the hobby of flipping in general. But I feel like I'd be hard pressed to ask any collector or to propose to a collector that you should not have that ballad song. I feel like you'd be hard pressed even for them. They might not like flipping, but I feel like they could get on board or already are on board with, hey, yeah, I don't flip, but I should still be able to have this. In fact, they're probably the best example of why people should be able to have it. It's like I'm not doing anything with it other than collecting it. I am literally just collecting this item because I think it's cool. Why can I not do that?
one of these questions here has a response from someone named Tyler Green, who is plumber slash student, and it is just I can tell from the beginning, right? The first picture has a picture of a BRS replicant. I don't know if it's a killer bee, but it looks kind of like that. I don't actually
Yeah,
know what makes
that's
it. Is
the
it?
killer bee. Yeah, the killer bee. They only did yellow and black G10, especially if it has a black blade. If it's got a black blade, that's the killer bee. It's a little bit hard for me to see in the image, but
Well,
I
he said
think
it was
that's
a
the.
1 out of 30 down here at the bottom. It looks like it's a black blade.
I don't think it's 1 out of 30. I think it's like one out of.
Well, I mean,
I thought.
he said it's 1 out of 30. I
Yeah,
have no idea. And whatever this is, I've seen it. I can't name it. It looks like a Hom knife. Um,
I think that's the Spectre, or it's
is
a.
it? Okay.
If it's either if it's a is it a live blade or is it
It
a
looks like a
go back?
trainer.
Oh, that's a Prodigy then.
Okay. But anyway, like I already know that this person actually knows what they're talking about just because of the knives. Like they're not going to be a complete idiot. You know what I mean? Hopefully. But reading through it, they yeah, clearly like they're not one of those people. Um, and he has 17 upvotes. Let's compare it with yeah. Well, actually, interesting. Yeah, the answers to this one actually seem a little bit more reasonable. Um,
And honestly, usually when someone's more invested in the hobby, they do come up with more informed opinions um, about it. So in looking at those knives, I mean, you're looking at probably anywhere between I don't know, and I'm kind of low balling it, anywhere from $700 plus in knives. I guess depending on the condition, they looked like they were in good condition, so it'd probably be a fair bit more. But on a really bad day, you're probably looking at least $700 in knives. So when you're spending that kind of money, you're probably going to have at least a decent opinion about the topic.
right. There is another question here called, why don't schools allow trainer balisongs? They are great for relieving stress and aren't real knives. I've seen kids get shanked by pencils and... Jeez, dude. Where did you go to school that you see that on the reg? Like, what?
Oh, no.
And it hit by books, and it's way more devastating than a trainer balisong. Okay, look, I understand why schools don't want a trainer balisong, right? Because it's not necessarily immediately apparent that it's a trainer unless you're close, right? But I think that's kind of an interesting question. And you know, of course, oh God, Daniel Kaplan is a high school teacher for 15 years. Wait, you're serious? It's the same reason they don't allow a lot of things, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I just think that's kind of a funny question.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things where there is a lot of things that schools don't let in that I don't even know. I'm trying to remember if my elementary school was a pain about even like yo-yos. Basically anything that they want to label distracting, like a squiddy. I don't think a squiddy really even has the potential to be that dangerous unless there was some kid like out in the play, like was it like taking it to the asphalt and like sharpening it up. You know, unless they were doing that like a psycho, then I really don't think a squiddy is dangerous, but it can cause problems with distractions. And then you get into the whole issue of, well, you know, other kids are probably going to be like, can I play with it? And then like, yeah, I don't really agree with not allowing it, but at the same time, there's some logic behind it.
So there's another related question called, what happens to the kids who aren't great at school? And I can tell you, they go on to complain about balisongs.
Oh yes. The number one activity, complain about balisongs.
Butterfly knives tend to be expensive because they are generally, parentheses, with a very few exceptions, nice grammar, meant to be sold to meatheads and mall ninjas.
Oh, see, that's
Right.
the problem. That's the problem. And actually, that makes no sense too, because that demographic, the mall ninja demographic, does not have the disposable income typically in order to afford some of those more expensive knives. And it also reveals to you that they have no idea what they're talking about, because anyone that has a clue would understand that they have to be USA made in order for them to be sold in the USA. Now, of course,
Right.
people buy them and skirt that line in order to get some foreign made balisongs, but USA made's probably going to cost a little bit more. So you can tell these people are buying those cheap CCCs, those cheap China copies or whatever. And that's all they're using to compare, because that's the first thing that they're looking at. That's the first thing that comes to mind, and they latch onto it. They're not thinking of a Benchmade 42, an Archangel.
Well, okay, look, to be fair, I set my prices where they're at because they're meant to be sold to meatheads and mall ninjas. That's my primary customer base.
Yeah, like let's just run through a few knives, right? Right. So for the other people listening, any of these knives are any of them ones that you would say are targeted towards meatheads and mall ninjas? So kind of as I was going, Benchmade 42, Archangel, Benchmade 51, BRS Replicant, Alpha Beast. You could even go, even if you want to, you can say the 87, any of the 6X series of Benchmade. How about the Microtech Tachyon, the 2 or the 3? Any of those? What about the EOS Serpent? Does that seem like it's marketed to that demographic? How about any of some of these kind of more custom makers like the JK Designs? Does that scream meathead and mall ninja?
Okay, look, I understand your point, but this guy, I mean, he has a point. I mean, he says that they're meant to be sold to meatheads and mall ninjas. Like, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but it's hard to argue when there's a guy on the internet, or maybe it's a woman, I'm not sure. It's a them on the internet uh, saying it, right? Like there's definitely some credibility there. You know what I mean?
Meatheads, and honestly, okay, all right, and this is going to be a little bit of a it's going to be a little bit of a jab at Cold Steel, unfortunately, but the FGX, if you've seen the FGX, that's a bit on the Mall Ninja side.
I don't know if I let me
It's a
look it up.
it's a plastic, or I don't know if they call it plastic, but it's some form of plastic that the entire battle song is made out of. I think even including,
I hate
yeah,
serrated edges.
that to me is a bit on the Mall Ninja side. However, Cold Steel Archangel, absolutely not. Absolutely, that is a good, nice looking knife that a meathead probably isn't gonna spend their money on, and a Mall Ninja, who knows if they can even afford it. I mean, I'm stereotyping here, but like they're probably looking at the those knives that are, they're looking at $20 to $50 knives that they can get a bunch of, and they want to have a collection of $20 to $50 knives. They're like completely blacked out serrations. Maybe they want one with like some skulls on it, or some gold colored handle, or just a gold colored blade. Like that's what they're looking at. They can't, like, they want to have a bunch of those knives before they were even going to get one single nice knife. That is Mall Ninja logic.
Right. Um. Yeah. I guess okay. Like. Well, okay. I like I don't have a problem with something being marketed, to a certain audience because it's cheap, or like it being cheap being used to appeal to a given audience, right? Um, but at the same time, like it just seems like an internally inconsistent argument, like to just like downplay. Oh, it's just they're meant for idiots. What, idiots who have $500 to spend on a knife? Like what do you, like, explain how you've made that connection. The guy's asking why they're so expensive, and you're saying, well, because they're made for idiots and mall ninjas. Like
Yeah,
it's
and
just,
that's the
that's
other.
dumb.
What idiot has? I mean, there are some idiots, but in general, who is buying up all these battle songs? Are there really just meatheads and mall ninjas buying up $400 battle songs when there's 100 of them being released, and then another 100, and then is that seriously the conclusion that they come to? And even if it is, well, then they must be some of the more intelligent ones to be able to have that disposable income to spend $400 on a knife.
Well,
I mean, that's
I buy my Benchmade knives right outside the Build-A-Bear store in the
I
local mall.
I see.
Yeah,
You get those ones that say Benchmade, but they forget the E, and the back of the box has some kind of
yeah, the butterflies upside down.
yeah, they got like these different like letters that look like they might be in a different language, but you're not really sure if that's just a safety panel.
Right. Yeah, I mean the guy looked he was probably genuine. I mean, okay, like the 51, like it definitely cost me a lot. It was like $50. I'm sure it was genuine, because Benchmade would be able to make a knife of that quality and then sell it for $50, right?
Oh, absolutely. I
It's
mean,
just so ridiculous.
it's shocking that it even would cost more than 50, quite honestly. I'm surprised myself. I mean, with inflation these days, why shouldn't it be $30? I don't
Well,
simple.
it is. It's just funny, that like if we just take Benchmade for example, right? Like how do you when you're sitting there trying to explain why something is expensive, you're like, oh, well, it's marketed to idiots. Okay, well, an idiot would not be able to look at a Benchmade knife and be like, oh, look, they've done this, which costs money, right? It takes time, it requires some engineering decisions, and it makes the knife better, right? An idiot wouldn't be looking for that, right?
No.
Like, like it's just such a dumb argument. You know what I
And,
mean?
and in fact, the conversation about what knife is good for flipping, what or not what knife, what battle song is good for flipping versus what battle song is good for EDC would not even be a discussion point, because the buyer, the meathead, the mall ninja, would be too stupid to discern which qualities were more desired. There are very strong arguments to why something like a Benchmade 51 might be a better choice for EDC as opposed to something like a Channel Alpha Beast.
I 100% would choose the 51, but that's just because I never flip, and I love the lightweight aspect of it.
But I'm saying, but there's the logic. It's lighter weight.
Right, I forgot. I'm not supposed to have logic.
Yeah,
sorry,
you dummy.
I'm trying.
So, but that's something. If you were just an indiscriminate buyer, just you're too stupid, you would not really be too concerned about the difference. You really wouldn't. But the fact that these two different products exist tells you, if you just do a quick little thought exercise, that the buyer might have certain preferences based on the use that they're trying to use it for.
If you get the old noggin jogging.
Yeah, I mean, if you really just stir up those hamster wheels, because
right,
we know those cobwebs are in full effect with
they're
some
thick.
Of these people.
Yeah, thick with 2 C's.
Thick with 2 C's.
Yeah.
Thicker than a bowl of cold oatmeal.
Right.
Perhaps.
Right. Yeah, no. It's sort of somewhat related. Like, there's definitely, like, if you pick up a 51 and then you pick up a Baron Sons, it's like you don't have to be a genius to figure out which one is better. You know what I mean? Like, you can just tell from the build quality, right? If you were to sell something to idiots, you wouldn't waste time on these small, like the spring liner design, spring latch liner design. Like, why would you do that if you were trying to sell it to idiots?
Yeah, which tells you, and I mean, you can even read through reviews of knives. People are very, very critical of what they want with Balisongs. I mean, it's gotten very bad with, I mean, I hate to say it because I don't really believe it's too much of a factor, but tap tolerances. Tolerances are a factor, tap not so much, but tolerances, chipping, smudging of the finish. People get upset about smudging of the finish. Any kind of if they can see any kind of milling or anything like that was unfinished or like if it wasn't stone washed or polished or whatever, people are super critical of Balisongs.
If they know what to look for.
Yeah,
which we should do on another stream. That would be an interesting topic.
That would be an interesting topic. And if anyone would agree with that, definitely let us know so that we could more strongly consider that as a topic.
Or if they have another topic that they would like.
Yes, any other topics are welcome. We are this is a safe space.
Yeah. There are no stupid topics, at least that we will tell you are stupid.
We're not gonna.
For episode 2, why is Doug such an idiot? There's a lot of material on that one, let's be honest.
Find out why Doug's IQ drops by 0.001 every second, every day.
Well, you added an extra 0 there.
Ooh.
But it's okay, dude. We all make mistakes. I just make more than most.
But I'm just, man, reading through some of these articles, because I haven't done that. I haven't done that exercise ever before. I watched the videos, but reading through those articles, that is eye-opening to what some of the average people think about Balisongs. And it's more sad than anything, but definitely eye-opening.
So, a Reddit response, okay, I'm going to leave my judgmental comments out of it, but it's Reddit, okay?
I have opinions about that.
What makes a switchblade, butterfly knife, etc. more dangerous than a regular pocket knife? And the top comment is easy to conceal. Again, we've discussed how stupid that statement is, right? God, it's like you can't state it enough. It cannot be overstated. Like, if someone's like, okay, what makes a Balisong more dangerous than a folding knife of the same size. If they say, well, it's easy to conceal, you automatically know that they have nothing interesting to add to the conversation because they are just dumb as a box of rocks.
Actually, a box of rocks can serve a purpose.
I apologize to all the boxes of rocks out there.
You might wanna, yeah.
I do feel bad. I would like to issue a public apology.
That's not enough. We need an ad campaign.
Yeah, we need me to get canceled.
Yeah, you're done. You're not woke. You're done.
The second part of the answer is along with an association with hoodlums in the 50s. Like, okay, strong argument, yeah. Bud. Great.
Because all of those dang hoodlums. Are we serious?
God, it's. Man, dude, it needs to be illegal to be this stupid.
Straight boomer and Karen logic. Ugh.
Yeah. Oh my! Like, how do these people manage to make an account on a website? Like, you actually have to accomplish multiple steps to do that.
And the worst part about it is because these opinions go unchallenged, they're able to kind of get a foothold and kind of promote this ideology, this stupid ideology that battle songs are dangerous. I even saw, and I'm not gonna name names, even though I've taken shots at this individual before. I saw someone make the claim that and a bigger YouTuber, we're talking at least a top 10 battle song YouTuber, so I'll at least give people that context to work within.
It was probably Squiggle Scales.
You're
in his 16 subscribers.
On YouTube, not so much.
I'm just.
But I saw someone make the argument that the reason why battle songs are illegal is because people were cutting themselves so much that they had to go to the ER, and there was just so many cases of injury that hospitals said, we have to do something about this. Please create a law that will save us from having to deal with all these injuries. Like, said no one ever.
I mean, I actually was talking to a friend of mine who's was a medic in the Army, and actually he might be interesting to have on the show at some point. But I basically said, look, if just hypothetically, right, some 10-year-old gets a hold of one of these ultra dangerous knives, tries to do a Zen rollover, and forgets that the wrist pass is a thing, right? His parents freak out, okay, drive to the hospital at like 90 miles an hour, honking at people all the way, right? And they go in, and then while they're sitting there getting triaged or whatever, somebody comes in and they've got like a bullet wound in the chest, right? Like, are the people at the emergency room intelligent enough to realize that bullet wound might be more life-threatening than paper cut? And he's like, yes, actually. People are not idiots, except people who are anti-battle song, apparently.
Yeah, and honestly, and I don't mean to go down this road too far, but I'm not above understanding that most hospitals need to operate as a business, and if they have basically what is a customer there, it's a win for them. Like, oh, you cut yourself. Wow, great. We're still gonna have to charge you for that.
Right? Can we recommend some better knives?
Like, do people really think that a business would be like, no, don't do that thing that will make us less money. Please don't do that thing.
But it's like, how can you make the argument that it's taking resources away from somebody else when?
They're gonna tell you you're dumb. They're gonna tell you to sit there. You're dumb little butt, because we have actual crises that we need to take care of, and we'll get to you when we get to you. It's the same thing for when people probably come in for like, they think they have some life-threatening flu, or, well, in this case, that's probably not a good time.
That is too soon.
Bad time to say that. But let's say they think they have some. Let's go. Like, they think that they what's something else that they get? Like, they just okay. We're gonna go a little graphic here. They have profoundly uncomfortable diarrhea. So
every day for me, basically.
Yeah. So, but like, okay. And they're like, please treat this right now. This is painful. And it's like, well, that guy who literally got amputated involuntarily by power equipment. I think we might. There's this thing called a triage you're gonna have to sit there and be uncomfortable with your diarrhea for a little bit. Yeah, are you okay with that?
Take some Pepto Bismol, bud. By the way, my friend in the chat, who may or may not be the person that I had referenced, said your friend who knows about hospitals sounds really sexy and smart. Again, he may or may not have been the exact person that I was describing.
To our anonymous viewer, you're the best.
Right. And that friend does know a lot. It's he's just not very good at like GTA and stuff. It's kind of a shame.
Oof. Oof. People
just don't tell him that.
People still play that game. Oof.
Oh, well, they made it free on the Epic Games Store or whatever.
Oh, jeez. Do they have any Balisongs in that? Actually, I'm actually curious. Like, is there any like knife?
I don't think so.
No.
I mean, there's knife stuff. I just don't think there's any Balisongs.
I know that's all the rage with some video games now, where they're kind of putting in Balisong skins.
God.
I know Black Ops did it, or Call of Duty Black Ops did it.
Oh, I thought you meant the other Black Ops.
Oh, yes.
Idiot.
I think Apex did it too, actually. Yeah, they did it. CSGO's obviously had it, but interesting development there. Actually, even Fortnite did it.
Oh, God. Well, that explains why there's so many kids getting into this. Yeah, actually, I think CSGO is actually a huge part of that.
It's gotta be. Because it's like, oh, this is that cool knife from that video game that I like. And it's not to knock them, because like it is. It's the cool knife from the video game that they play. But at the same time, just so misunderstood.
But I think the messages that some of them send me, which we had talked about this briefly yesterday, kind of betray like the sort of naive approach to it, I guess. Like the fact that I will have kids that message me and say, "Hey, can you make handles for my CS:GO knife?" It's like they don't understand the cost involved with making something that's like high quality. Not that I'm saying my work is high quality, okay?
Assuming that it is.
Right. That's what I like to do. I tend to not think about it much. So Matthew says GTA actually does have a Balisong, but it's called a Switchblade. That's just depressing.
Just to, like, and you know what kills you too? You know what kills you?
Balisongs?
No, right. But some poor game designer or whatever worker, I don't know what they call the people that like animate it, but some poor worker had to sit there and probably watch some Balisong videos, then animate the Balisong in the game. And just for them to do all that work for someone to label it a Switchblade.
I know, dude. It like you start to understand why like antidepressants are a thing.
That put me over the edge. If I was actually someone that flipped and just was like, "Oh man, this is so cool! I flip and I get to put a Balisong in a video game. This is so cool," and they disrespected me like that, I don't know if I'd work there much longer.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely understandable.
Someone said it looks like a Switchblade though. So
yeah, but that's the guy who sucks at GTA.
I see.
Yeah.
We'll take that.
No offense. I'm not like I don't mean any offense when I say you're bad at it. I'm just like observing reality, I guess.
We'll take a pinch of salt there, but but just to circle back to some of the things, it's just so unfortunate that these like opinions are out there, they're unchallenged, and I think it's actually good that we started off with this type of podcast or this topic for the podcast where it's at least something to counteract some of the claims going out there. There really isn't a lot of content challenging the notion that Balisongs are banned for this reason, Balisongs are illegal for that reason, Balisongs are reason because of this, or are dangerous because of this. So it's good that we at least get something out there that kind of challenges that narrative, because boy is it frustrating. Some of these people that tout themselves, or they basically become self-proclaimed experts because people just watch them because they kind of fill a gap in the market. There's not a lot of Balisong commentary, someone starts producing Balisong commentary, all of a sudden people take that person as the gospel, and it's like, no.
Just one semi-related thing with Matthew saying, I'm not sure how you obtain the Switchblade in game, but if you give yourself all the weapons with a mod, of course, he's a cheater, right? You can equip it and the character appears to do a rollout. Although Chase says, nah, bro, I'm watching the animation right now. It just flips out like a Switchblade. So I don't know which one to believe. They're both just so credible.
If I had to imagine, it's probably doing a quick draw animation. That's probably my best guess.
God, now I want to figure it out.
I haven't seen it myself, so I am imagining it's a quick draw.
Let's see. I was just poking fun, Matt. It does look kind of like a Switchblade to me. Although, wait a second. Yeah, that's the Grand Theft Auto Online one. I'm not sure that that's a Balisong.
That kind of looks like a Switchblade. Does it have pivots? I can't see.
I have no idea.
I don't think that's a Balisong.
Oh. There's a butterfly knife in Vice City Stories.
Like a butterfly, like
a literal Balisong.
Yeah, that looks like a Balisong.
Is Vice City Stories just a part of Vice City, or is that like a DLC? That must be a DLC, right?
I have no idea, actually.
Yeah, I have no idea if I have it. I have like all the GTA stuff, I thought, but I'm not sure.
I get that premium DLC.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the other topics that we could address, although I don't know that we have time today. I think it would be interesting to talk about like the sharpness of knives and the impact that maybe that has on safety. I mean, we could talk about the sharpness impact on safety. That doesn't take long.
Yeah, that doesn't take too long at all. Boy, oh boy.
No, but I mean, like, basically just in the sense that like a sharp knife actually is safer than a dull knife. But a dull knife discussion, it would take a bit. Let's be honest.
You mean? Yeah. Well, I mean, in some ways, it depends. In some ways, like if it's just flat out dull, I mean, you're not hurting yourself. But if it's kind of in that weird in between stage, yeah, there's some problems that can occur.
Yeah. And although I will say, I guess you could make the argument that somebody who flips Balisongs, unless they really try to keep their knife sharp, you could make an argument that if dull knives are dangerous, right, or more dangerous than a sharp knife, and somebody flips a Balisong a lot, and by flipping a Balisong and dropping it, you dull the blade and create like a jagged edge, which you do if you're dropping it on anything hard.
On hard surfaces, yeah.
Right, or outside. Then you can make the argument that because that makes the Balisong have a jagged edge, Balisongs that people are flipping are more dangerous than normal knives. But that ignores people like me who, my knives are not dull at all. You know
what I mean? and there's plenty of flippers who do not flip dull knives, and they are actually sharp, or they will sharpen them, or at least touch them up occasionally, at the very least. And because many of them know, if I get whacked by this, I don't want to have an unclean cut. I just want to have a clean cut, move on, have it heal, and be done. They are well aware of the fact that a dull, or in that like weird jagged edge type deal, jagged edges are going to result in cuts that are uncomfortable and don't heal that well at all.
Right. Which is why like an actual cut with like a scalpel is a lot better than literally ripping skin or something. Although I if Chase is still listening, like this is medically correct, right? Like we're not completely off. I mean, like we're a little bit off our rocker. Let's just be honest. But not completely, right? That was my understanding, is that a clean cut is going to heal better, and like the skin readheres or whatever better than if it's
Well, I just thought
jagged.
that was common knowledge. It's like, was it talk when people talk about using two razor blades and putting them next to each other in order to scar somebody? The whole reason it scars worse is because the way that the way that the cuts are. It's kind to me that's like how I would imagine a jagged edge to create a cut where your skin can't really come back together easily.
Yeah, that's my understanding of it. But again, it's also common knowledge that battle songs are only used by gangsters and criminals.
Important distinction. We should have considered that.
Right? We didn't even discuss fully automatic battle songs yet today.
Oh, those ones. That was a fun novelty item. The
Right.
automatic battle song was a fun novelty. Completely ineffective in terms of
The recoil.
not the recoil, but it's not. I mean, yeah, at that point you just have an automatic knife, really. Because if you're doing it from the latched position, it's already latched, it's ready to go, it'll pop out, but it's it's just an automatic. It is no different.
Oh, I just mean full automatic. Like you just hold down the handle and it just keeps knifing.
I it
Um,
keeps yes, it cycles the blade in and out. I see very dangerous.
right. It's not out the front. It's out in, out in, out in the front.
Mm, mm, mm,
Um,
mm, mm.
you know. But yeah, it's I think that like the conclusion of that, like the answer to the question of like are battle songs dangerous is well, it depends, but not more dangerous than other knives.
Yeah, and to give my kind of concluding statement on that, how if I was to say to somebody, if I had to kind of summarize how dangerous are ballad songs, I would say, how comfortable do you feel using a and actually this is a good point because I have family members that don't like to do this. How comfortable do you feel using a properly sharp kitchen knife? So, all too often, you'll probably find if you talk to people that they let their kitchen knives get a little bit duller because they're scared of seriously cutting themselves.
Right.
So that indicates that they don't really exercise much control over the knife. They might not be in the right frame of mind when using it. They might be distracted watching TV or watching a movie while preparing food or something along those lines. So I would almost wager it's like, okay, how dangerous is it, or how dangerous are battle songs? Well, if you don't trust yourself with a kitchen knife being sharp, yeah, a battle song's probably going to be dangerous to you. But if you have common sense, you're used to using sharp knives, you understand you understand how to use them. It's probably going to be no more dangerous than that very same kitchen knife that you use to prepare food. No
Right.
more dangerous than your kitchen knives, as long as your kitchen knives are actually sharp.
Which, yeah, um, might I think a lot of people, and again, we'll discuss this in a stream focused specifically on the sharpness of something, but I think a lot of people don't really understand anything when it comes to the sharpness of a knife. Even people who are like, "Oh, I keep my knives sharp." It's like, do you? You know, so and I guess okay, and this is semi-related, like because I know we've talked about this at great length, but I definitely think a lot of these people that go around and think they're just the world's greatest flippers and all that, and they're like, "Oh, well, my knives aren't dulled," kind of thing. It's like, okay, if you were using a knife that I had sharpened, you would not be so careless if you had any idea what was going on, because it's so it's just so much different to actually have a sharp knife compared to one that is just quote sharpened, especially if it's using one of those god awful kitchen sharpening like V groove things.
No.
Yeah, those destroy my soul, which to be fair is already just about destroyed. But God, it's painful watching people use those because it rips the metal.
Yes, it's actively removing big chunks, right?
Yeah, it's literally shearing off the metal. and it creates jagged lines. I could show some microscope pictures.
Microscopic. You got it. You're trying your best, kiddo. You're trying your best.
I know. Thank you for being understanding. I will show some microscope pictures of my dad's K-bar that I'd sharpened, and he'd sent it off to this sheath company to get like a custom sheath made for it. And they literally put the K-bar in the sheath when the sheath was wet so that it would form to the knife. And the blade rusted and stuff. And the guy, I think, went and tried to like somehow fix it later by running it through one of those things.
No.
But it's like, dude, it had like a mirror bevel on it before that. It's like, how do you reach the conclusion that, oh shit, I messed up, or oh feces, I messed up? This was like a polished edge and now it's got some rust on it. Let me just rip the metal off. I'm sure they won't notice that, right? It's
worse.
Like, how do you reach that conclusion?
And that's actually another good talking point. I agree that it might not be the best for this stream, but definitely in regards to just the safety aspect of a sharp blade versus a dull blade, which basically could be like, hey, should people be flipping dull? That's a good question. But in addition to that, kind of even talking about, it's a little bit of a taboo subject, but hey, some of your favorite flippers probably flip dull. It's a very uncomfortable subject, and there's plenty to go over with that one.
Oh yeah, and obviously we're not naming names right now, but we've definitely discussed specific people that a lot of people are huge fans of. Well, not so surprisingly, these same people have a bit of an ego, right? But they're also, they seem not even remotely scared of the blade, when they're doing like quintuple scissors and stuff. It's like,
oh yeah, anytime you want to talk about dangerous areas where you're actually scared of it, like
I'm scared all the time. Let's just get that. Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, it starts to get suspicious around double scissor. It starts to get, I am not going to say that every single person that's doing a double scissor is doing it on a semi-dull blade. That's not what I'm saying here. But it starts to get suspicious because there is a lot of momentum going into that trick. You start going into triple scissor, quadruple. There is an insane amount of momentum compared to a standard scissor. Your margin for error is very low, and if it was an actual sharp blade, the risk to getting cut for doing some combo, just doing a triple scissor combo, goes up on like an exponential curve.
Right.
There's even something, the blade could even rotate. So during an aerial scissor, the blade could and the handles could kind of turn over. So it basically turned into a closed scissor. And you could try and catch the knife that way. You might end up catching the blade. And if it's got all that momentum on it, you're having a bad time. You
had a slow motion video a long time ago that was like, if you try your best and you don't succeed, that little fix you, right? But it had the slow mo of you grabbing the blade, pinching the blade, with your middle and index finger. Same sort of thing, right?
And that's far less repercussions too. That trick was far less repercussions.
Well, I do quintuple scissors all the time, so maybe I'm not the right person, just because I'm so good at flipping. But
I do wish that there was video evidence. But you know what? You sound like a trustworthy guy.
My video editing skills aren't quite at that level yet.
We'll take it. We'll take it at face value.
Okay, good.
We're honest people here. We're gonna take that at face value.
Well, one of us is honest. I like to be good at flipping. Okay, that's all. No, I'm just playing.
I mean, everyone's a rock star in their own world, man. Everyone's a rock star.
Right. Actually, and in case just because there might be people watching that don't know quite how bad I am at flipping. I'm joking. I'm literally the worst at flipping. Like, if you don't know what flipping is, you're still better at it than me. Right? That's the point. You know.
You could probably get someone up to speed in about a month and probably be on par.
Yeah. Yeah, I can do it behind the 8 ball, if like I don't have to actually land it.
If you focus real hard, maybe 1 out of 10 times.
Right. When nobody's looking and
But
the cameras aren't rolling.
But it's funny though, people act like that's just a casual trick, and it is once you get better. But you know, a behind the 8 ball when you're first starting out is extremely intimidating. It is an intimidating trick, um, because of that last rollover. You can whack yourself pretty good.
I've been able to, like, as far as rollovers go, if I get to the point where I catch the handle, I don't really ever cut myself. Like, I have the wrist pass down pretty darn reliably. So I usually would mess up somewhere else where it just, you know, like with me, the problem is I'll be sitting there trying to do like, you know, I don't know, one of those like up 0G chaplains or whatever, and like all of a sudden the knife is just embedded in the wall 10 feet away, and it's like, wait, I thought I was just holding that thing. That's me.
We've all been there.
Yeah, I've just started putting pictures up all over the house, you know, covering up all the holes.
You're not punching holes in the wall. You're stabbing holes into the wall.
Right. Well, it's not even me. Something happened, right? Like somebody had something to do with that. Like there's fishing line involved or something. Because there's no way that I would mess up a trick that badly, you know.
Casper smacking the knife out of your hand and saying,
right.
"Don't ever show me such an awful display of skill again."
Bad Doug, no flips.
Casper letting you know what's good.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I mean, that wasn't a complete disaster, I guess, for a first podcast.
No, I think we hit some really good topics. I think there's a lot of material that and I don't know if this is all right to disclose, but I suppose to the 7 people watching, I think it's fair too. I think the aim is for this type of live stream, we're going to be breaking it up into parts that are more easy to consume. So if you ever want to revisit a topic that was discussed, instead of having to listen to the whole live stream, it'll be kind of parted out into more easy to digest pieces
on specific topics with specific titles. And you know what people would probably like, although I won't do it, they'd probably like if I could just cut out every part where I was talking and just dispose of them. Right? Like
if we could hire a voice actor,
yeah,
to redo whatever you said,
text to speech.
Yeah, I think the quality of the video may
if we could just take out all the stupidity, you know, I guess there is a simple way I could do it. I could just unplug my mic.
Honestly, just mute yourself. Pretend, like, leave pauses. Like, I'll leave pauses for you to talk.
Right? Yeah, we'll add in the text to speech later. God, that's so awful.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I don't know. Is there anybody in the chat who has any question in particular, other than Doug? Why are you so dumb? Because I'm insecure and I don't really want to talk about it.
Yeah, and again, any topics, any ideas that you look forward to, with some exceptions, would not be off the table.
Right. How do I stab XYZ?
Yeah. Best knife for for harming XYZ. Yeah, no, we're not going down that road.
Right. Like I don't know if my friend is actually watching right now. He's probably busy with something, but like, you know, as he would say, you're going to want to talk to an attorney in your area about that. You know, because, you know, laws related to stabbing people, I'm sure, vary by state.
Yes, of course.
In a place like Texas, of course, the violence is completely legal. No, I'm just kidding. That's how it is in Seattle.
Oh, no.
Oh, God.
Call it chop for nothing.
Oh, dude. You heard about that girl that got shot in Atlanta, right?
Oh, geez, yeah, that was unfortunate.
Yeah, at least the mayor of that city, this as soon as that happened, she was like, "Okay, this needs to end," which is just a huge difference. Like, I don't think it should have happened in the first place, but at least
You know how we could have fixed that
what battle songs?
if we just saved that gorilla. If we just
Oh my
saved that
god,
gorilla a few years ago.
Harambe!
All we had to do.
No, that was
was
like
save
5 years
the gorilla.
ago, dude.
Yeah,
That wasn't
yeah.
2 years ago.
And I know I said a few. A
Oh,
few.
okay.
Yeah, and the world is still suffering the consequences.
Matthew wants us to talk about best battle song for murdering people. Well, I just think any battle song is like designed for that.
Yeah, I mean, we've been over this.
Right.
In the UK, any knife is a Death Star equivalent weapon. You're good to go on whatever your choice might be. Yeah, really. I mean, according to the UK, any battle song is hyper lethal.
Right. I mean, yeah, and I think that's a good conclusion. It's just that battle songs are awful. Anybody with anything to do with battle songs, should be ashamed of themselves. Although I'm sure that they don't feel any shame, which in and of itself is a shame. But I like the word shame.
I just wonder if you have a permit to be carrying such a dangerous item. That's the question. Actually.
Yeah, do you have a permit for your opinion, your violent opinion?
Can you show your papers, please?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Cool. Well, we don't have any serious. Oh God. Matthew is asking, is a CS:GO trainer?
No, we're not addressing that one. We're done. Cut the mic. Cut the mic.
Yeah. Shut it down. Shut it down. Yeah. But yeah, and actually that is actually a good point though. In seriousness, like what battle songs are good for flipping would be an interesting topic. And what modifications can you make to a battle song, and what impacts do those modifications have on the flipping characteristics of that knife?
I do agree with that. That is another good topic that we can hit. It could actually be almost a full. That one can go on for quite some time actually. But we do have a good comment or question here. It says, if a mugger actually pulled a Battly on you, would you try to impress him or just get mugged normal? Like, I actually have a different stance on that. I would pull out my gun and just shoot him while he was doing those fancy tricks, because that's what everyone on Reddit has instructed me to do. By the time he finished, I would have already pulled my gun out, and clearly he would still be doing tricks, because that's what muggers do. They do tricks before mugging people. Therefore, I would have time to properly defend myself. According to Reddit, of course.
1 second. Yeah. I guess the question is your gun a gravity gun, or is it an assisted opening gun? Is it a fixed gun? That would matter. Is it a switch gun?
Well, the whole point is, if someone did those tricks in front of me, I would just shoot them, because doing tricks in front of someone is completely illegal.
No, we agree on that. If somebody does tricks, they should be killed, frankly.
Clearly a threat to your life. Logically, and again, the great wisdom of Reddit and logic has told me that doing tricks is an indication that I am about to be mugged, and therefore I should defend myself accordingly.
There's also the tidbit of wisdom from Matthew here. What battle songs are good for flipping? Any battle song that Doug didn't make. I mean, that's definitely a valid answer.
I mean, he kind of answered the question. He answered his own question, honestly. I'm not sure.
With a fantastic answer.
Yeah, Matt, what are you looking for there? I don't know how we can help you here.
He can't be helped.
Yeah, you're too far gone.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet. Well, I wrote down a lot of these ideas, and you and I can talk and see if we can come up with a good order to go through those.
Yep, we can touch base on that.
Sweet. Well, thank you guys for joining. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it wasn't too cringy.
We'll find out. Doug and I will find out.
I'm scared. I don't want to find out.
But yeah, definitely thank you to those that showed up and watched. especially if you were here the whole time, or even just stopped by.
Yep. All right, guys. See you next week. It'll be at the same time, same place. Hopefully, a little bit higher quality production value. Although, actually, I judging by the test stream we did yesterday, I think the audio quality and stuff should be pretty good. So, cool.
Yep.
All right, guys. Later.
Have a good one.